Good evening, I'm Benjamin Lee. Welcome to Ukraine Brief. Today marks day 1416 since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. At least 5 people are dead and dozens more are injured after Russia launched a massive attack on the Kyiv, Dnipropetrovsk, and Lviv regions yesterday evening. President Zelenskyy said this morning that 242 drones and 13 ballistic missiles had entered Ukrainian airspace. Overnight on January 8th, the sky above Kyiv lit up as a Russian attack set buildings ablaze. President Zelenskyy warned the night before that Russia could use poor weather conditions in central and eastern Ukraine as cover for a large-scale assault. According to Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko, 4 people were killed in the capital, with nearly 20 others injured. The strikes severely disrupted the city's water supply, and roughly 6,000 apartment buildings were left without heat. Emergency crews are now working to restore damaged infrastructure. Klitschko said this afternoon that heat has been restored to nearly 1,100 residential buildings. In the city of Kryvyi Rih, a Russian strike hit a 2-story residential building, killing 1 person and injuring at least 24 others. 1 man is in critical condition. Nearby businesses and cars were also damaged. Local emergency services worked to extinguish a fire caused by the attack. Russia also fired Oreshnik hypersonic ballistic missiles at the Lviv region overnight near the Polish border. CCTV footage captured the moment the missiles were launched towards a residential community. Yesterday's attack in Lviv was not the first time Russia turned to its Oreshnik missile system. However, Ukrainian authorities now say Russia likely used inert warheads in the latest attack, calling it a deliberate attempt to terrorize civilians. The first use of the Oreshnik missile came in November 2024 when Moscow struck the central Ukrainian city of Dnipro. The missile, reportedly launched from Kapustin Yar, traveled more than 800 kilometers to reach its target. After Russia's most recent use of Oreshnik missiles in the Lviv region, Ukrainian authorities said the weapons likely carried inert or dummy warheads. The missiles caused limited damage from small submunitions, leaving minor craters in concrete structures and forested areas. Moscow said it fired the Oreshnik in response to an alleged drone attack on President Putin's residence last month. Ukraine denies the claim, and the United States say the attack did not occur. Kyiv's European allies describe Russia's latest strike as an attempt to intimidate them and discourage continued support for Ukraine. Ukraine's security service said Russia aimed to destroy critical infrastructure and terrorize the local population. The Oreshnik is no ordinary missile. It is an intermediate-range ballistic missile capable of reaching speeds up to 7 kilometers per second. While it appears to be a groundbreaking new weapon, analyst Jeffrey Lewis says it is simply a combination of older technologies.
This is a new capability, but it is not a capability that represents a dramatic change in the way that conventional weapons are developed. It's a series of old technologies that have been put together in a new way. If the weapon were inherently terrifying, he would just use it. But that's not quite enough. He's had to use it, and then he had to do a press conference, and then he had to do a second press conference to say, hey, this thing is really scary.
The International Atomic Energy Agency is calling for a temporary ceasefire zone near Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia Nuclear Power Plant after military actively knocked out the site's last remaining backup power line. Damage sustained on January 2nd left the facility relying on a single external power connection, sharply increasing nuclear safety risks. IAEA Chief Rafael Mariano Grossi said talks are underway with both Russia and Ukraine to allow technicians to safely carry out repairs. The proposal follows a similar IAEA-brokered ceasefire last month that allowed an emergency work on critical power lines at the Zaporizhzhia Nuclear Power Plant. Across Ukraine, continuous strikes on energy infrastructure are disrupting power supplies to nuclear facilities. The IAEA say it is preparing another expert mission to assess risks to the power grid and nuclear sites. Czech Foreign Minister Petr Matýnka is in Ukraine today for talks in Kyiv with his Ukrainian counterpart. It is his second foreign visit since taking office. The trip signals the new Babiš government's intention to maintain support for Ukraine, including continuing the Czech ammunition initiative that some feared could be dropped. The visit comes as Russia carried out renewed attack, including deadly overnight strikes on the capital.
Today, we had a detailed discussion of our cooperation in the defense sector and the further implementation of the Czech ammunition initiative. It has proven its effectiveness in protecting the lives of our people and the security of all of Europe. Thank you for continuing the initiative. My first trip as foreign minister was, as is traditional, to Slovakia, and my second is here to Kyiv. Ukraine is very interested in peace, and I appreciate, having observed it personally, the major concessions that Ukraine was willing to make in the peace negotiations. So now it's time for concessions on the Russian side, and I firmly believe that people will soon start traveling to Ukraine not by train, even though it is an adventurous journey, but back by plane, because Ukraine will be a safe country.
And that's all from Ukraine today. Thank you for watching, and for more news, update, and commentary, stay tuned to TVP World.